Welcome to Demystifying Math. In this lesson, we're going to be discussing odds. Probability is the number of favorable outcomes divided by the number of possible outcomes. Let's find the probability of selecting a king from a standard deck of cards, and there will be 52 cards, not including jokers. There are 4 kings. That would be the number of favorable outcomes. And the number of possible outcomes is the 52 cards in the deck. So our probability is 4 over 52, or 1/13. Let's find the probability of selecting a card with a number on it that's less than 6. There are 16 cards that have numbers on them less than 6. And there are 52 cards. So we have 4/13 as our probability. The probability of selecting a red queen. Well, there are 2 red queens in the deck. One is the queen of hearts and the other one's the queen of diamonds. So 2 would be our number of favorable outcomes, while 52 is the number of possible outcomes. In lowest terms, our probability is 1 out of 26. When you're looking at the probability in favor of something happening, you're dividing the number of favorable outcomes by the number of possible outcomes. When you want the probability that something does not happen, that's the probability against, which will be the number of unfavorable outcomes compared to the number of possible outcomes. When we're looking at odds in favor, we're comparing the probability in favor to the probability against. We're going to change this formula a little bit by replacing the probability in favor with the number of favorable outcomes divided by the number of possible outcomes. The colon that's in between the two indicates that we're representing an odd, but it is used to replace a division bar. So we're going to replace it with a division bar for now. Then the probability against is replaced with the number of unfavorable outcomes compared to the number of possibles. Now we're going to divide by multiplying by the reciprocal. And now you can see that the number of possible outcomes cancels out. And we're left with the number of favorable outcomes compared to the number of unfavorable outcomes. We're going to rewrite this using the colon, and we have the odds in favor is the number of favorable outcomes compared to the number of unfavorable outcomes. When you're looking at odds against, you're comparing it in reverse. So you're going to put the number of unfavorable outcomes first and the number of favorable outcomes second. Let's find the probability of the king again. So we had 4 out of 52, or 1/13. When we're looking at the odds, we have 4 favorable outcomes, and the rest of the deck are the unfavorable outcomes, which are 48 of them. So you're comparing 4 to 48. When you're doing odds in favor, the favorables come first. Now remember that the 4 to 48 is really like a division bar there. So we can put it in lowest terms. So we're going to say it's 1 to 12. The odds against a king is the reverse of that. So we're doing unfavorable to favorable. So 48 to 4, or in lowest terms 12 to 1. The odds in favor of a red queen. There are 2 red queens, which means there are 50 cards that are not red queens. So the odds in favor would be 2 to 50. Or 1 to 25 in simplified form. Now let's work from that and get back to a probability. Remember, probability is the number of favorable outcomes divided by the number of possible outcomes. Well, the number of possible outcomes must be the sum of the number of favorable plus the number of unfavorable, since a card is either going to be favorable or unfavorable. So what we're going to do is combine those together to get the probability. So the number of favorables was the 2, which came first in our odds in favor. And the number of favorable plus unfavorable is the sum of the 2 numbers in our odds, 2 plus 50. Notice that you could have used the simplified form 1 to 25 as well. A card is drawn from a well-shuffled deck of cards. What are the odds that the number on it is less than 6? So we have 16 that are less than 6, which means that the rest of them are going to be not less than 6. or not have numbers on them. So there's 36 that don't have numbers less than 6 on them. So 4 to 9 are our odds in favor. Remember, our odds against would just be the reverse of that. Let's get back to our probability. Probability that's less than 6 would be the number of favorable divided by the total. So we're adding the two numbers in the odds together. Or we could have done it with a simplified form, with 4 being favorable and 4 plus 9 being the total. So we get 4/13 as our probability. Thank you for watching.